After months of competition to see who would make it, we have reached the Overwatch Champions Series Asia main event. Teams from Japan, Korea, and the Pacific will all be facing off to decide which two will advance to the Dallas International event. In addition to this, the top 4 teams will be winning an invitation to the Esports World Cup in Saudi Arabia. Welcome to Tank Talk, where today we will be discussing the 8 teams competing, as well as my predictions for the winners of the OWCS Asia main event. The OWCS Asia main event features an 8-team double elimination bracket format. The teams competing are Team Falcons, Crazy Raccoon, FTG, and Yeti from Korea, Honeypot and DAF Esports from the Pacific region, and Varel and Insomnia from Japan. In our analysis of each team, we will assign a star rating out of 5 for their DPS, tank, and support lines, along with an overall team rating. These ratings are all relative to one another, so a team receiving a lower star rating doesn't mean they're bad, just less skilled than the other tournament's competitors. We will be starting with the weaker teams and move on to those that are title contenders. The first team we will be discussing is the Japanese team Insomnia. This 6-player roster is a mix of Korean and Japanese players and is almost universally considered to be the least competitive team in the tournament. Featuring Leonopteryx and Mastdog on tank, Daisy and Undersea on DPS, and Blink and Karu on support, Insomnia will be lucky to win a single map, much less any of their matches in the upcoming days. They have played a lot of very close matches and almost didn't even qualify for playoffs. If there is a bright spot for the team, it's that hitscan player Daisy is very mechanically talented, and his skill at Tracer has been able to carry the team in the past. For the struggles they will face in this tournament, Insomnia gets a rating of 1 star. The next team is the second Japanese team, Varel. Composed entirely of the best talent Japan has to offer, Varel dominated their group stage, dropping only a single map throughout all of their matches. With KSG on tank, Nico and Kyuki on DPS, and Cloud, Mihawk, and Mint on support, the team features a lot of individual talent, but their true strength comes from their coordination and experience from years of playing together. While they have been unstoppable in Japan, this is by far the weakest region, and Varel has never really been tested by stronger talent. Varel will face difficulty keeping up with the pace and skill of the other teams in the tournament, and earns a rating of 2 stars. Moving on to the Pacific region, we will be talking about DAF Esports. This diverse team is primarily composed of players from Thailand, along with representation from Japan, Australia, and Singapore. The roster features Dank and Clear on tank, High Vision and Ace on DPS, and Polly, Ebang, and Lumi on support. The main strength for this team comes from their DPS line. Ace is an incredibly flexible player with a deep hero pool, and High Vision has some insane mechanical talent on the hit scan role. DAF should be competitive with the middle tier teams, but will struggle to keep up with the true title contenders. DAF Esports earns a rating of 2.5 stars. Finishing up the Pacific region is Honeypot. Featuring players from Singapore, Korea, Taiwan, and Australia, this team previously competed in Contenders Australia, New Zealand, and found decent success with some of the same players they have now. The roster features Adam on tank, Yang and Soggy on DPS, and Light, Kame, and Overshake on support. Honeypot is the only non-Korean team competing to have a former Overwatch League player in Adam, and their DPS line has been incredibly strong so far. Soggy in particular has been an incredibly dominant force on the hitscan role. Out of all non-Korean teams, Honeypot has the best chance of being able to punch upward, and receives a rating of 2.5 stars. If you have been keeping track, then you will have noticed that the top 4 teams are all from the Korea region, and that's because it has shown itself to be the most competitive region with the best teams. The first of these Korean teams we will look at is Yeti. They are a young team for better and for worse. They got off to a slow start, but have emerged as one of the most fun teams to watch with their explosive talent. Their roster is composed of Donghak on tank, Knife and Viper on DPS, and Irony and Bliss on support. When playing at their peak, Yeti can keep up with some of the greatest teams the Asia region has to offer, but they struggle with issues of inconsistency, as well as a lack of flexibility, primarily centered around Donghak's limited hero pool. They even failed to achieve a direct path to the Asia main event, and had to fight for entry as the wildcard team. In a favorable meta, and if everyone is playing their best, then Yeti is a very scary team for anyone to face. But for the issues they experience, they receive a rating of 3.5 stars. The next team from Korea is From the Gamer. Their roster is made up of Belosaria and Bernard on tank, Flora and Alpha Yi on DPS, and Finn and Violet on support. and since the beginning of the group stage, they have been the firm third-place team. They have successfully fended off attacks from every lower-rated team they have faced, but have never succeeded in breaking into the top 2. They have come real close at times in the past, however, and you can never count them out of the title contender discussion. Many of the team's players have proven themselves to be true top-tier players, especially Bernard on tank and Flora on hit scan. Add in the veteran leadership of players like Violet, and you have a team eager to win it all. FTG earns a rating of 4 stars. The penultimate team to discuss is Team Falcons. This Saudi-owned organization boasts some of the greatest and most respected players the world has ever seen. The roster includes Smurf and Hanbin on tank, Proper and Stalker on DPS, and Fielder, Sir Majed, and Chio on support. The team has been struggling somewhat with their synergy and roster decisions, but every player's individual skill is so great that they have won almost every match regardless. They are a definite favorite to place top 2 in Asia and advance to Dallas for international competition. For their incredible skill across every role, Team Falcons gets a rating of 5 stars. The final team competing in the OWCS Asia main event is Crazy Raccoon, formerly known as WAC. Their roster is a combination of proven veterans and rising talent, featuring Junbin and Max on tank, Lip and Heesang on DPS, and Shu and Chorong on support. The former O2 Blast members of this team saw little success in the Overwatch League, but they have been on an amazing redemption arc under this new organization to be one of the most dominant Overwatch teams of all time. Along with Team Falcons, they are immediate favorites to advance to international competition, and will similarly be receiving a rating of 5 stars. And those are all of the teams competing in the OWCS Asia main event. Korea has been the most competitive region with the best players, which is why the 4 Korean teams make up the top half of the competition. Looking at the power ranking for the teams, we have Crazy Raccoon and Team Falcons in the top 2 spots respectively. Either of these teams could realistically be given the top spot, and in fact Team Falcons won the last match between these two. But Crazy Raccoon has been the more consistent team and has shown better teamwork and cohesiveness. Rounding off the top half of teams is From the Gamer and Yeti in 3rd and 4th place. While only the top 2 teams from this tournament will be advancing to international competition, the top 4 will be receiving invitations to the Esports World Cup, and these 2 teams are definitely capable of winning that distinction. The next teams are Honeypot, DAF Esports, and Varl. While each of these teams have been very successful in their own region, they would be lucky to win any maps, much less any matches against the Korean teams. In 8th place is Insomnia, who are going to struggle even against the other teams from their region. Going into my predictions for the tournament, we won't be going into too much detail about each individual match, and will instead be doing a quick overview of the competition. The first day will feature 4 matches, starting with Team Falcons vs DAF Esports, followed by Yeti vs Varl, FTG vs Honeypot, and finally Crazy Raccoon vs Insomnia. The skill gap between regions is so great that every Korean team will beat their Japanese or Pacific counterparts 3-0. Moving on to day 2, the first match will be between Team Falcons and Yeti, and Team Falcons should come away with a win, but Yeti will be able to take at least 1 map off of them. The next match will be between Crazy Raccoon and FTG, and the result will be yet another 3-1. The first elimination match will take place when DAF Esports faces off against Varl. Given Varl's dominance in Japan, it will be sad to see them as the first team to be eliminated, but DAF will defeat them in a close 3-2 victory. The next match will be between Honeypot and Insomnia will be the second team to be sent home after a 3-0 loss. Starting off day 3 will be matches between Yeti and DAF Esports and FTG and Honeypot. As with the first day, the Korean teams will defeat their opponents 3-0 without too much trouble, eliminating them from the competition. The next match will be yet another rematch of what has grown to be the most exciting rivalry in Asia when Crazy Raccoon faces off against Team Falcons. Team Falcons won the most recent showdown between these 2 teams, but I believe that loss has lit a fire under Crazy Raccoon, who will use that energy to win 3-2. Finishing up day 3 will be a showdown between FTG and Yeti. While the loser of this will be removed from the competition, they will still receive an invitation to the Overwatch World Cup. With that being said, FTG will defeat Yeti in a close 3-2 victory. The final day of competition will begin with Team Falcons facing off against FTG. While FTG has some amazing players, they have never been able to break into that top tier, and this will be no different. FTG will be removed from the competition, but will have a chance to compete in the World Cup. The top 2 teams at this point will already have a lock on going to Dallas for international competition, But every match between Crazy Raccoon and Team Falcons has been a display of peak Overwatch, and this should be no different. Crazy Raccoon will prove themselves to be the better team once and for all, and will win this best of 7 match 4-2. And that is my analysis of the teams and all of my predictions for the OWCS Asia main event. The top 2 teams will be advancing to compete at DreamHack Dallas, and the top 4 will receive invitations to the Overwatch World Cup. How do you think these matches are going to go, and which are you most excited for? This was Tank Talk, and thank you for watching.